today what we're going to do is we're going to look for triads that are sort of hidden within a chord itself. So basically, we're going to be building triads upon chord tones. For today, as an example, I wanted to use the A7 chord. Right? What we're going to do is we're going to outline the chord tones in the A7 chord that you can translate to any seventh chord that you want to play. And then on each chord tone, we're going to be creating a triad. And that triad is going to be a diatonic triad. So that means it fits with the chord within the key that the chord's in. What is this idea? So first of all, when we're playing over an A7 chord, so let me just get my backing track going here. So for instance, if we have our A7 chord here, whoa, right? Then we can play our minor pentatonic, we can play our major pentatonic, we might play our A major triad over that, and everything that we play has its own sound. But when we're playing, for instance, A major triad, everything feels safe. There is not really anything going on. It's just, okay, you're playing the chord, but there's no real movement going on. And this is kind of mitigated when you're playing, for instance, your major pentatonic scale, because there's notes in there, 2 of them, that do not belong to the chord. So, like this. So we have these 2 notes, which belong to the chord, but then this one. So this one doesn't belong to the chord. And when we play it over that A chord or that A7 chord, you instantly hear it, that there is more going on than just playing the chord. It's interesting. The great part is that you can create movement with it. You can create movement with it. So it means you can resolve it, right? So there's 2 notes. So that was 1, the major 6. And then we have the major 2nd, and something like that, right? So now, this is all great, but sometimes you're looking for a little bit more, and that's kind of what we're going to be aiming for. Now, some of these triad combinations I've never played myself or haven't played a lot myself, so I'm going to be discovering these things along with you all. So that's, for me, it's kind of just as exciting as it is for you. For those of you who are part of my Patreon family, there's going to be a PDF available afterwards. I can show you a little bit what it looks like. So let's see. Let's drop it in here. I still have to, I still have to kind of shape it a little bit. But what you're going to have is you're going to have your triad shape set. So you're going to have your A major triad, so you can see what we're basing this off of. And then in color, the contrasting triad, so you know what to move between. And I think it's going to be very helpful to kind of visualize that on the fretboard. I'm going to be using that as a cheat sheet, so I'm going to be moving it to my other screen here so I can keep an eye on things. All right, so let's start with the first one. So the first one that we're going to be doing is, the first thing that we're going to be doing is identifying the triads or the chord tones in the A chord, right? So in the A7 chord, we have the root note, which is A. Then we have C sharp, which is the major 3rd. We have the 5th, right, which is E. And the 7th, which is a whole step below the root note, is going to be a G. So we have A, C sharp, E, and G. Okay? Now, on the A note, the A note, we can create the A triad. Right? Now, what I want to do is everything that we're going to be doing in this video today is going to be around the E shape of the A chord. So every triad is going to be positioned around this. This is just so we can always resolve it back to that shape. So we always know where we can go back to. I think that is a really good way to approach this. So for the A triad, what we do is we have A, C sharp, E, A, C sharp, E, and A. Okay, so that is the one. And so now let's look for the other one. So we're going to be looking for a triad below the one we have and one above the one we have. We'll start first with the one below. So if in A mixolydian we have A, B, C sharp, D, E, F sharp, G, and A. So the other notes that we're going to have is going to be G, B, and D. So there's going to be a G major triad. Okay? So for that G major triad, the shape that's going to kind of work the best, I think, is just going to be in this position here. Right? Or maybe let's keep it the same as the other one, as our original triad shape. I think it's close enough to be able to resolve it back to A. So these two. When we play between those two, we can kind of go back and forth, right? So you can play G and then go back to A, and then play a little bit of G and then go back to A. So let's see what that would sound like. So, whoops. So let's see. So let's start with a G first. Here we go. 3, 4, 9. Resolving it to the A. Right? So you can hear when I'm in G. So it creates an incredible amount of movement. It has a really nice vibe to it when you're playing that G chord over the A chord. You instantly feel like, whoa, there is something going on there. But the resolve is super strong. So it's not just like a gimmick. You can actually move it, right? So I think the G towards the E, towards the A is a definite win. Now, when it comes to how these two work, there is one place in particular that is really interesting. And that is where the D of the G chord will resolve a half step down to the C sharp of the A chord. It's the only spot where there is a half step between the two chords, and it's where you have the strongest resolve. So let's see what that sounds like. So here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4, and... Right? So I'm curious, what do you think about this combination? And also maybe going forward into this video, see if when we hit another, so when, for instance, when we're going to listen to the next set, how does that one feel, right? So try to store this one into your brain, but like, how do you rank it? Is it like, oh, this is really impressive, or is like, yeah, it sounds okay, but it's not really doing it for me. Kind of curious. For me, it ranks pretty high. I would definitely say this is like a 7 or an 8 for me. Like, I'm definitely enjoying this one. So this is finding the contrast on the sort of below the triad. Now let's find it above. So we have our A major triad. So if we go diatonically above, we're going to encounter B minor. Okay, so first, let's make sure that we have our B minor triad set up. So what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be playing it like this. It's kind of around that, what is it? That E-shaped B minor chord. They're close enough. I could also do it from the G shape. So both would work. So we have B, D, F sharp, B, D, F sharp, and B. Now, here, there's also two places where you have a note that is a half step apart. Or actually one place that is when you have the third of your B, right, your B minor, that would resolve down a half step to the third of the A chord. So let's first have a listen to what these two sound like, right? So hopefully you still have a little bit of that sound of the G and the A there together. But yeah, every time I hit the space bar, I'm in the wrong window. Here we go. 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can already hear that for me, it's like it's trickier to kind of place this one. Maybe so with a G, it was really easy for me to sort of place it at the start and do it that way. And right now, I'm kind of finding that, yeah, it's definitely a different sound. So let's see if I start with the A chord. Maybe it makes it easier to kind of play around with the two of them. So let's do that one more time. So we have 1, 2, and 3, 4, and... Yeah, that's kind of that made it a little bit easier. So where with a G it was really easy to just bounce back and forth, I found it a bit more intuitive to stay longer on the A triad and then move a little bit to that B minor to then resolve it back to the A triad. The color scheme on the guitar, yeah, well, it's accentuated by the orange light that I have to my right. It's what makes it kind of glow. If I put it, just as an aside, if I put it like this, you can even see it more. Like that light really accentuates the browns and the oranges in the guitar. Anyways, so So the other thing that you can do is to use them both, right? So why stop with just using your G or your B minor when you can use them both? So you have your A minor triad and you can move up to your B minor, then back down to your A triad, and then down to your G, and then back up to your A triad. Well, is it Thak Milde? I have no, or Tuck? No, that's probably not. Anyways, but someone actually purchased a similar guitar just because they saw me use it. They like the color scheme so much. I love it too. It's a gorgeous guitar. All right, so let's try that quickly, and then we'll move on to our next Triad set. So let's see how this goes. So, I'm kind of getting lost here. Hold on. Let's try that again. 2, 3, 4. What I'm finding, so of course, because we're using the G, we're using the B minor and the A triad, you have a really full range of notes to play around with. I think the essential part is that as opposed to using sort of like just a scale, when you're playing a scale, you're kind of just putting all the notes, you're just playing all the notes back and forth. Well, now you're really leaning towards one color and then painting towards another color, then leaning towards that color and then painting back towards the other one. Does that make sense? So it is even though you're using most of the notes of just like the Mixolydian mode or the major scale, how you use them is different because you're using smaller groups of them. So it's much easier to really create contrasting things. I think it's really, really awesome. Okay, so for the next one. We're going to be using the C sharp note, right? So the third of the A chord. Now, when we're using the third here, so the one thing that's not great about this guitar, by the way, is that my volume knob, like sometimes you'll hear the sound cut out a little bit. I still need to change the electronics in there because it's kind of broken. Let's see, what was I going to say? Oh yeah, so we're going to create a triad onto the C sharp note. So for that, we're going to be using the C sharp, the E, and the G. And what that creates is the C sharp diminished chord. And it has, on its own already, it has a very interesting sound to it. It's basically what creates the A7, like the seventh sound of it. And in many cases, a seventh chord is replaced by a diminished chord. Usually a diminished seventh chord if the dominant chord is going to be has a flat 9 in it. Anyways, so we have That one. So on the lower end, we can use the B minor to contrast it with. So we have the C sharp diminished. So C sharp, E, G, C sharp, E, G. So this is kind of where I would play it. And then for the B minor, I guess in this case, we'll use sort of the G-shaped position. So we have B, D, F sharp, B, D, F sharp, B. Okay? So let's see how those two sound together. And again, I'm hitting the space bar, but I'm on the wrong page. There we go. So first, that diminished chord. What does it sound like? Well, that chord sounds really good. Like, you don't need to go anywhere. It creates a lot of grit, I find. Sounds absolutely awesome. So how does it interact with that B minor chord? Because that's basically what we're after. Sort of having those triads go back and forth. So let's try to do that here. Okay. 1, 2, 3. To me, I don't know, I'm curious what you think, but I really like how these two are interacting with each other. So before, I was playing not A minor, but A major triad and the B minor triad. And I had a little bit of difficulty kind of trying to figure out how that works together. But I don't know how it sounds to your ears, but when I hear this one, it just kind of fairly naturally kind of mixes together. At the same time, it doesn't have a strong resolve in it, like over the A chord. So you feel that you can constantly keep moving, which is kind of cool. So, yeah. So the other one, of course, so if we have the C sharp diminished, the other triad is going to be a half step above that C sharp diminished. So that's going to be a D triad. So if we build a D triad with the A Mixolydian mode notes, that's going to be D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A, right? So we're going to be playing it in this position here. So we have A, D, F sharp, A, D, F sharp, A. So this is going to be interesting in trying to find out how these two should really work well together. There is one weird part about it, though. So the A7 is designed to resolve to the D, right? But the chord we're going to be playing the D over is going to be the A7 chord, and we're trying to resolve back to the A chord here. So how this works, I don't know, but let's find out together. So I'm curious what you I'm curious what you think. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. sounds like to you, but actually I'm really digging how these two interact with each other over the A7 chord. I don't know. It's like there were a few moments where I felt like I was really resolving it when I went to, like when I played the third, well, the root note of the C sharp triad to E, but which is the third to the fifth on the A chord. So I thought that was really a place where I felt that I was resolving something. But in all the other spots, it felt like you could continue to, like, it's never completely there. So it kind of invites you to keep going between those two chords. Hey, Jerry, awesome to see you here. I hope you're doing great, dude. So from what we've done so far, so I'm not sure if there's anyone who's been watching from the start or who's kind of skimming through, but which ones were your favorites so far? Was it like G to A, that, or A and B minor? Or is it the C sharp diminished to B minor? Or the C sharp diminished to D major, right? So there is one step that I still have to do, and that is to do them both, right? So we have C sharp diminished in the middle. On the lower end, we have B minor. On the higher end, we have the D major chord. Let's see what this sounds like. Cheating there at the end. I was adding I was adding the G, the A, and then I don't know, I was doing all kinds of stuff. But like, what I'm really enjoying about doing these kinds of discoveries is, and I've talked about this last week when I was talking about playing chords, rather than having an approach where you're like, oh yeah, I saw this there, and then this is what I should play over that. Taking a little bit more of an exploration kind of approach to improv and being like, oh, but if this works, then what about that? And if that works, then what if I would do this? And just playing around with it. And in the end, it's all about how you kind of put those things together. But yeah, I like to just mess around with stuff. Okay, so now we're going to move on to the fifth of the chord. So the fifth of the A chord is E. Oh, thank you, Jerry. Awesome that you're liking the vibe. I'm liking the vibe myself. Thank you very much. So on the E note, we're going to create a triad, which is going to be E, G, B, which is E minor, right? So on the lower end, we're going to have D major to contrast with, and then we're going to have E minor. And let's see how these two work together. Because E minor, so just so you know, and I didn't address that actually in previous ones, but with the E minor chord, you're playing the 5th of the chord, you're playing the 7th of the chord, and you're playing the 9 on the A7 chord. So you're really starting to step outside of the chord and starting to play more color tones than you're actually playing chord tones. So the farther away you move, right? So if you just keep stacking triads, eventually you're just playing color tones. But let's see how these two work together. 1, 2, 3, 4, and... sorry. I'm going to try that again. 2, 3, 4... again. So I feel that I'm cheating here in a way. Well, let me explain that a little bit. So there is an A note in the D chord. But really where I wanted to go when I play that D note from the D chord is to really sort of resolve it eventually to the A chord. To be honest, I don't know what it sounds like to you. Probably you can hear that I'm struggling with this set of notes a little bit. How does this sound to you? Like this combination, the E minor and the D chord. Yeah, and it might also be sort of the place where I'm playing it. So the trouble is that you kind of have to see it sort of all match up, so you can kind of see how you want to move from one to the other, and maybe that could be a thing. Because when I'm seeing this, yeah, I think I know what's going on here. So the thing is that you never land in a place where you feel home, where you kind of feel like, oh, this is where I'm going to end. So eventually you would probably, if you're using these two triads together over the A7 chord, you would eventually actually go to A7 to kind of make it work, right? Because when I'm playing the triads as a chord over the A chord, you kind of can hear that you're never really there, right? So... you are, right? So maybe that's how you're supposed to use this. It's like... It's like what I told you. It's like I had to just punch the volume knob to get my sound back. But yeah, so I do really like this kind of looking for stuff. So So that is E minor and D. So let's see what E minor and F sharp minor are going to sound like. Now, if you know your theory a little bit, you know that F sharp minor is the relative minor key to the A major key. So essentially, you're basically playing your A as already, right? So what I think is going to happen is that the E minor is going to sound like it's away from it. And then when you play the F sharp minor is going to sound like the resolve. That's what I think. So let's see what we got. 1, 2, and 3, 4. I think here it really feels like it's flipped indeed. So I feel it. This is getting awfully close to just playing a G and an A triad again, right? Because when you have your E triad, which is E, G, and B, are just 1/3 away from playing a D and having that G triad. So this is, again, getting really back to where we started. So I'm kind of curious, where do you rank each set of triads? So maybe I play it one more time, just shortly, and then maybe you can give me your opinion or not. Like, of course, you're free to do what you want, but I would really appreciate if you could let me know which one do you prefer. So I'm going to start with basically the set of triads which has A in the middle, G at the bottom, and B minor on top. So this is our first one. Okay, so here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So that's kind of that vibe. So, and I didn't do a great job playing that, but let's see. So what was the next one again? So we had, oh yeah, so the C sharp diminished and B minor and D minor. So C sharp diminished in the middle. So that would be this one. And then we have and the D major. Okay, so let's see what that's gonna sound like. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah. I feel if I do a better job at playing these things, I think it might trigger a stronger emotion, but yeah, I'm not going to tell you what my preference is so far. So let's see. So we have one more, which was, if I'm not mistaken, the E minor. Actually, that was minor 7, but the E minor triad and the D major triad and the F sharp minor triad. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. So since nobody's given their, well, I've just played it. So I do want to give like a minute at least for somebody to type in their preference. If you don't have it, that's fine. I'm going to give it to you in about a minute. So the one thing that so we have one preference here. So you're enjoying the C sharp diminished, and then with the other two on the outside. Yeah, that is definitely a very strong contender. So what I kind of think is really cool about the C sharp diminished and D is that C sharp diminished has a natural resolve towards the D, but because we're playing it over an A chord, eventually we want to hear it resolve to the A. So it's a really weird combination of factors that are guiding your choices there. So which I think is super, super cool. I think for myself, at the moment, I would choose G, A, and B minor, simply because of the fact that I am much more comfortable playing that combination. I think because the triad pair of having the fourth degree and the fifth degree side by side is a very common thing to use. So it's easier to find those two side by side. However, I think if I start practicing, period, but start practicing the C sharp in combination with the B minor and the D, I think that would eventually overthrow the other ones, because it's just a little bit more. It just adds a little bit more flavor to the whole thing. So that's kind of my opinion. So in a way, I agree with you, Jerry. So C sharp diminished with the D and the B minor. But from a playing point of view, I find it easier to visualize the G and the A and the B minor and the A. Yeah, and it's not just the visualization of it as well. The diminished triad is just an annoying triad to play. And I can show you just in close up quickly. So you have C sharp. So normally everything just stacks up pretty nicely. So for instance, if I would play C sharp minor, like this. Oh, wait a second. Yeah, so right? But when you have that flat 5 in there, actually, that's not bad at all. I don't know what I was talking about. Yeah, it depends on where you want to go with it. I don't know. I guess, you know, as a guitar player, you've played minor triads for so long that they just kind of flow really easy. But maybe it's just a sign that I need to stop streaming and start doing some practice myself. I think that's all what I have for today. What I'm going to do is I'm going to drop the PDF for this into Patreon tomorrow, because I have one more Triad set to do before I can do that, because otherwise you have something incomplete. So that's going to happen tomorrow. I'm going to wish you all a great weekend. And if you're into this Triad stuff, you should check out my other streams, because there's a whole bunch of good stuff in there as well. Wish you all a great weekend, and I hope to see you again next week. Bye.